Just give you a little background. I've been at the plant since 1988. I started as an operator there and then moved up into management in 2004. When Energy took over, they decided to work on this facility over here, so they made me manager of the LPG storage facility. So basically, I started out, I've operated the plant, I know how the whole system works, safety stuff, all the training that everybody goes through over at Istvan. We start out, we have computer-based modules that the guys go through, and trenching and excavation and all the different types of aspects of the project. And then we have regular training sessions and stuff as far as all our ESB stuff. So the employees are well trained, into handling situations if they do occur. We've also, when we started this project, we've been doing drilling. We had to drill out all the wells that were plugged and abandoned by the U.S. Salt facility. So it's between myself and Tom Cole, we oversee the drilling aspects of it. Also, the MIT test that John spoke about, we've done that on the galleries that we're going to store propane in. I'll give you a quick overview of how the plant's operated. Basically, we'll get the propane and butane in by rail or pipeline, and it'll get offloaded from the rail cars into 30,000-gallon tanks, above ground storage tanks that we have. We use small compressors. They're like 25, 30 horse compressors that'll actually pull the vapors out of the tank that you're going to move the product into, and that lowers the pressure, and that builds the pressure on the tank car. So that'll move the liquid product over into the tanks. And out of those tanks, we have a feed pump, which are small 40-horse electric motors. They'll pull the product out of the tanks and put it into our bigger injection pumps. You've probably heard that we have 4 700-horse electric motors. What they do is they're used to inject the product. This is kind of a drawing that John was speaking of as far as you have the annulus, you have the casing, and then you have the tubing that goes into the well down at the bottom that you spoke about. So we take the product out of the 30,000-gallon tanks, feed into our injection pumps, which takes the higher pressure to push it down and displace the brine back out. It'll go into the ponds. And so that's the basic system of how we move the product from pipeline. It'll come directly into the pumps to the well, and if it comes in by rail, it'll go offloaded into the 30,000-gallon tanks, and then low pressure fed to the injection pumps and then pushed into the wells. So it's a pretty simple operation, the way the product's moved in and out. As far as that's the injection season. On the withdrawal season, when we start taking the product out of the caverns, as the product's injected in, the product and the brine don't mix, so it forces the brine up the thing. So as the cavern gets full, this is our projected LPG level for our butane well that we're going to be using up there. So as we withdraw the product out in the winter seasons and stuff, we inject the brine from the pond back down the tubing, force the product back up out through some pneumatic choke control valves. We either go onto the tank cars with it, or we can go into the bullets, and then it can be loaded onto trucks from there. So it's a pretty simple system as far as in and out. There's multiple safety controls. As John said, the technology with wellheads and stuff nowadays, where the tubing seals, the PE seals or rubber type seals are all enclosed in the wellheads themselves. So if you have any type of seal failure, the product can't leak out into the atmosphere. It's held in by the steel units and the steel ring gaskets between. So there's no real potential any way that the gas, if you had a tubing failure or any type of other issues in there, that the product can leak from the wellhead system. On the wellhead system, we have safety control valves that are operated. So in a case, if the cavern is filled with product, we started to come up with tubing. We have flow meters that are in the brine line system that go to the pond. So what will happen is that flow will start picking up, and we have set points in our safety control system that'll trip in and shut these actuated valves on the product and the brine side. So no product, if we had any issue with the tubing or with the well overfilled, it's all shut in before it gets to surface. So that, and then in the facility, on our rail loading systems, we'll have loading arms, which are steel pipes with short hoses on it. There's safety control pneumatic systems that are in place throughout the facility that if you had a leak in a hose or anything like that issues, they can all be shut in automatically and stuff. So it can be isolated in multiple places throughout the facility to solve any problems as far as any major leaks. I know in the past and stuff, some of the other folks have brought up about like a wellhead failure, worst case scenario type things. We do the casing inspection logs that John spoke about on a regular basis, so we can tell if there's any corrosion on the inside or the outside of where the product is, you know. So if you ever showed up any issues, you know, there's ways of repairing them or replacing, drilling the well. We've done those logs at the Savona facility just recently. They've been in since the late 50s, and we showed no issues there at all. And also, you know, there's no real corrosion issues as far as with the LPG product. So, other than that, that's basically the systems. As far as all of our safety stuff, you know, is regularly checked. We have maintenance procedures and stuff as far as, you know, every night when we close in on a weekly basis, you know, the actuators are tripped, make sure that they close. So the guys are all trained, and if something doesn't close correctly, you know, then we have procedures that go through to make sure it's repaired. So on a daily basis, everything is monitored regularly. You probably know that we've been doing some drilling up in the facility, U.S. Salt facility recently. The DEC has kind of requested us to make sure that any caverns that are in the local area where we're going to store, that the old plugged and abandoned caverns were plugged correctly, so they're tight. So that's what we're doing right now as far as what the rig is doing up in the area now. So we're going to do the evaluation with the logs that John spoke about, you know, casing inspection logs, cement bond logs, stuff like that to evaluate to make sure that they are sealed correctly.